This is Create the Next from Pro CFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next. I'm Chris Bentliff, and Rodger Lazoff is with us today. And Rodger, we're having a conversation around culture and finance. We talk about culture a lot here at Create the Next, partly because so much of how an organization is able to succeed or thrive or achieve its goals or even establish a vision is built on, well, what sort of culture is being driven really from leadership on down. So welcome. And I guess let's kind of start with why is this important? Why is culture and finance, why is that a marriage that we should be thinking a little bit more inside an organization? Maybe we haven't thought of it that way.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. First of all, let's break it down. Finance's function is to report the results of operations on the books of original entry, and operations is made up of a lot of people. Every one of them is contributing. And the way to have a good culture requires at least 4 components: cooperation, collaboration, contribution, and community. Those 4 things combined make it for a good culture in which people can operate. For example, with cooperation, you want to ensure employees know what is expected of them. If they know what's expected of them, it makes it a lot easier for them to perform in their function. Collaboration is recognizing employee achievements. Perhaps it's something that an employee did this month, this quarter, this week that was to the benefit of the company, the organization, figured out or had a better way of doing something that saved the company money, which makes them more profitable, makes them more competitive. Contribution is to remind employees that their work matters. Their work is dependent upon others as well as others' work dependent upon them. And community, we all work together. That's in summary, the 4 C's, the cooperation, collaboration, the contribution, and community. I hope that satisfactorily answers the question.
Yeah, what's interesting there is, and I love that. I love anytime we get to sort of compartmentalize something into, we can put it on a baseball card. So many organizations have, I don't know, 1 of those nailed down, or 2, or maybe 3. It's tricky to get all 4 of those in a place of predictable performance. And part of what I'm hearing you say is if we don't get those 4, we have to start by getting those 4 right. Everything else has to sort of follow getting those things right. So as I'm thinking about what you're saying, and as I'm working on those inside my organization, I don't know, am I seeking perfection? Am I seeking, you want to be able to point to those, to one criteria of these and say, here's ways that we're excelling there. Like how do I prioritize culture with these 4 sort of aspects? How do I start to focus on my deficiencies in a way where I can start to make progress and not feel like all I'm doing is, moving to the next checklist and the next checklist and the next checklist?
Well, you can start by educating people in non-financial positions how their contributions to the company matter. That's very important, and how their work is reflected into the success of the company. Capturing the results of operations and finance depends upon what these other people do and how they function in their organization. A company stated mission statement would go very far in pointing people in the same direction that the company wants to go into. It would be helpful to focus on business goals. Everyone knows what the goals are. Each individual in their own department contributes to those goals. That's the first step. Then you want to provide the tools organizing employees' achievement. Actually, but recognizing. If you recognize their achievement, whether it's in a meeting, an annual function such as a picnic where everyone's dressed in denim and T-shirts, and those people who are typically unapproachable are just like everyone else, conversations arise. You create conversations that further instill what's the word I'm looking for? Not so much the camaraderie, but the communication. Someone over in finance may not know that someone in shipping and receiving is having a problem getting the records to finance to do their job. Well, what can we do to fix that? So breaking down the barriers to have people able to communicate, Present the situations that allow that to happen. Provide the tools to recognize achievement using these potential operating functions, such as a holiday meeting, an annual picnic, a weekly management meeting where managers know what has to happen and is then communicated down to employees. Communication is key. You want to convert the existing culture within areas of the organization from adversarial to mutual benefit. People aren't working against one another, they're working with each other for a common goal. Ensure people are aware their work impacts other areas of the company, resulting in success or failure. Finally, provide opportunities for personal interaction for those people, as stated before. You want that interaction. People who would not normally talk to other individuals within the organization can provide insight and knowledge. People doing the job are the experts in their job. They know better than anyone else how to get their job done. So if there's an idea on how to do something in a better way, faster, better, cheaper, it makes the company more successful.
I love these opportunities to create sort of casual or informal connection in community. And that stuff goes a long way. As we all know, when you have a great time on the river boat with your VP of finance who you don't ever spend time with, the next time you see them in the office, you've got some rapport, you've got an inside joke, you've got something to sort of connect to. When we start to then take some of these ideas around culture, how do we start to connect them into finance, particularly from the CFO's perspective? How does that start to drive my financial strategy or my financial acumen or my financial literacy inside an organization? When my culture starts to get healthier, how does that affect my ability to run higher performance finance operations?
Successful leaders recognize that shared values help keep teams focused and moving in the same direction. I think that's to start out with. Building a great company takes work and talented people working toward the same goal. The company culture unites employees to work toward a common objective. To achieve this culture requires analyzing how teams work together and looking for ways to keep that culture in mind. The CFO must be the role model, demonstrating the behavior sought to embed in others, and the decisions made should be reflective of the desired culture attitude. Lead by example. You want to be the example that helps people make their decisions. You want them to contribute. Talk to the CFO. That's the example, similar to the open door policy. The CFO must encourage the desired behaviors aligned with the culture. Talk to staff about what they want. Foster an environment of appreciation. Tell employees their work matters and why it matters. Create an environment where employees can turn jobs into careers by providing growth opportunities. The worst thing a company can do is have turnover. You lose the knowledge base that those people who have worked for you for a long time have gained that can help the company move forward.
Tell me a little bit about this open door kind of vision from the CFO, particularly if I'm in an organization, I am the CFO, or my CFO has been here a long time and we've got, predictable responsibilities. We've got that person excels in this way or that way. And maybe my, sales manager doesn't have a ton of sort of financial literacy around some of the same things that the CFO thinks about or kind of has their mind on all the time. How do I, as a CFO, come in and just tell me what's going on, rather than you need to know how to, talk to me about P&L in order to know what's going on? How do I invite kind of that human conversation from people who might feel intimidated about, I've got some ideas, but I'm not sure how to talk about them with you, expert in finance, CFO?
To achieve something like that, where the people who are working in the organization aren't comfortable with the CFO, it may be very helpful to have routinely scheduled meetings, possibly in a room with a bunch of other people from the organization with whom they are comfortable speaking with, getting the same type of feedback from those individuals. For example, going around the room, sales is talking, procurement is speaking next. What are their problems? What are they up against? Shipping and receiving, the warehouse management team, the accounting teams, whether it's payables, receivables, or the CFO himself. but generate an atmosphere where interaction with the other areas of the company are acceptable, not something to be feared.
That's a great, this idea of fear, which we've talked about here on Create the Next Two, is a really important component of eliminating cultural friction, right? And so I love your idea of creating an open sort of forum, and all hands is an example of when we could do that, where people are raising their concerns. So does the CFO, is it wise for the CFO to have, I don't know, questions or sort of conversation starters? There's one aspect where it's like, come in and tell me what's on your mind versus I want to ask you this question so I can dig deeper into it. What should my CFO, from a communication perspective, what should my kind of expectations there be?
A good CFO must be able to articulate thoughts and ideas to other people in a language they would understand. I don't expect or would not expect someone in the warehouse to understand what an accrued expense is that relates to their benefit package. However, if you speak to them about the expenses that are being incurred, that are part of their payroll, they're having money taken out and it's being put to their advantage, and we're looking for a less expensive package that'll provide better benefits, that they'll understand. But to accrue, we're accruing every week out of your payroll, they'll never get that. That's a finance term. So you have to be able to speak. Any CFO has to be able to speak at the level that other people speak to. So it's not a good idea to be 100% business with everyone in the organization. You have to be able to get down to the level of production, procurement, sales, warehouse management, even the people within the accounting departments, accounts payable, receivable, the general accounting department, financial planning and analysis, etc., have to speak their language so that the thoughts and ideas can be accurately conveyed so that they understand what's required by them of the organization.
This really means the CFO has to kind of move around the whole organization. They need to have an awareness of all the different people and the players and the responsibilities and the general sort of departmental, existence of all these things. That's a unique. That's not every executive and not every function in the office needs to be able to sort of adeptly do that. That's I think that requires an interesting and unique skill set from the CFO. Do you agree?
Yes. I mean, to have a leadership role means that you're taking responsibility as a CFO. You're doing planning. The planning requires input from other people in the organization. The information doesn't come from the sky. CFO has to be able to do analysis and have the ability to build a strong finance team from which the rest of the organization can rely upon. Key performance indicators comes from that planning, comparing actual events of the company for the month just ended versus what was expected. Those variances, and that's an accounting term, are pretty much reflected in the reporting to management. What has to change? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What has to change? Where can we improve? Who is the person responsible for doing this function who can provide us with insight, what we need to do to make it better? And that's just leadership. The CFO has to be reliable. It's got to basically set the foundation for any good leader. Have that open door. You want that information because you have to digest it as the CFO. Have to be a problem solver. Problems are solved based on fact-based analytical skills that the CFO must possess in order to come up with coherent answers to the vexing questions of the organization. And when someone asks, how did you come up with that answer? Here are the facts. Here's what the thought process was. Do you have a better way of doing this? I'm open to your thoughts.
That's interesting. And I think we have a lot to learn in this space as executives. I think that sometimes entire leadership teams, as I'm sure you're aware, are so focused on the doing and then on the thinking of of the envisioning of the doing that they forget about the doers a little bit. And there's a breakdown between what the rank and file, who, as you pointed out, they are the experts who are doing the thing, what they're experiencing in contrast to what the big idea was or what the big vision was. And part of what I'm hearing you say is it's the CFO or the executive's responsibility to build that bridge and to be aware that the bridge needs to be built and to ask others for their insights and their guidance on what do you think we're missing? What do you think we should be focusing on? And that's an adjustment for some of us.
Yes. Also, the last point I absolutely want to make is when someone comes to the CFO with a point, favorable or unfavorable, and it requires a response, treat that request for information with a sense of urgency. The reason that information is being requested is because it's needed now, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Treat each request with a sense of urgency. Answer as promptly as possible, because when you're asking a question, typically you have a deadline and you need to get that information into a report just as promptly. Mutual
respect goes a long way to building culture in an organization. Rodger Lazoff is principal at Pro CFO Partners. So many interesting points that you've broken down for us. And I feel like I'm always appreciative of when there's actionable sort of practical guidance. You've given us some things today where you don't need to reinvent, you don't need to have a week-long workshop. You can start doing some of these things right now by just kind of shifting your approach or shifting your perspective. And I think that's good advice, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Rodger. I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.